Welcome back to Beyond the Box Score, the home of cold hard baseball facts, sharp betting angles, and that gritty, no-nonsense breakdown the mainstream just won't give you. Tonight, we're diving headfirst into part 1 of our loaded July 30th MLB slate. From explosive division rivalries to under-the-radar value plays, we've got 8 matchups that could tilt your betting slip and twist the standings. Will the Blue Jays lineup finally break through against Baltimore's elite bullpen? Can the Red Sox hold the line at Fenway against Minnesota's surging rotation? Will the D-backs bats come alive versus Detroit's up-and-down bullpen? And can the Nationals pull off an upset against Houston's recent inconsistencies? These aren't just games. They're battles of identity, matchups of metrics, and opportunities to find edges before the books adjust. From power-packed offenses like the Braves and Astros, to struggling squads like the White Sox trying to find light in the dark, we break it all down, every stat, every matchup trend, every betting angle. Whether you're riding team totals, digging for dingers, or hunting strikeout props, this is where your prep starts. Game 1 Blue Jays vs Orioles. It's a heavyweight AL East clash that carries postseason implications as the Toronto Blue Jays travel to Camden Yards to face the first-place Baltimore Orioles. With both teams entrenched in a division fight and fighting for playoff seeding, this one goes beyond just a box score, it's about statement-making. The Orioles have once again cemented themselves as the gold standard in consistency, while the Blue Jays are trying to close the gap between talent and results. These two franchises have developed a quiet animosity over the past 2 years, and this game, with playoff-type energy in July, has all the makings of a statement win. The probable pitchers for this matchup are Yusei Kikuchi for Toronto and Grayson Rodriguez for Baltimore. Kikuchi, the lefty from Japan, has been quietly one of the more dependable arms in the Jays' rotation. Through 20 starts, Kikuchi owns a 3.87 ERA, a 1.25 whip, and 112 strikeouts in 109.1 innings. His success has been built on better fastball command and using his slider and curveball more selectively when ahead in the count. However, his weakness against right-handed power bats, especially on the road, remains something bettors need to note. In contrast, Grayson Rodriguez has shown flashes of becoming an ace, boasting a 3.44 ERA with 124 strikeouts across 115.2 innings. He thrives with an electric fastball and devastating changeup, but occasionally struggles with pitch efficiency when deep into counts. However, pitching at home where he's most comfortable, 2.78 ERA at Camden Yards, gives him a clear edge. Both lineups present contrasting approaches. The Orioles have evolved into one of the most balanced offenses in the majors, with elite young talent like Gunnar Henderson and Adley Rutschman setting the tone. Henderson leads the team with 27 home runs and 8.545 slugging percentage, while Rutschman's consistency behind the plate and in the batter's box makes him a top-3 catcher in the AL. Ryan Mountcastle and Anthony Santander offer serious pop, especially against left-handed pitching. On the flip side, the Blue Jays have struggled to find consistency. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has hit .289 with 18 hours but is not quite playing at the MVP level he flashed in 2021. Bo Bichette has dealt with nagging injuries and isn't offering the same spark he did a year ago. The Jays need a lift from secondary bats like Dalton Varsho and George Springer, but those names have underwhelmed for long stretches. When we dive into the advanced metrics, the Orioles' situational offense becomes more apparent. Baltimore ranks 5th in MLB in ops, with runners in scoring position .790, and has one of the best clutch hitting metrics in all of baseball. Toronto, however, ranks 21st in those same spots, often coming up short when it matters most. Baltimore also holds a substantial advantage in bullpen reliability. Craig Kimbrell has regained some of his closing form, while Yennier Cano and Keegan Akin are providing crucial middle to late inning value. Toronto's bullpen, in contrast, ranks bottom third in WAR since the All-Star break, and their lack of a shutdown eighth-inning guy puts added pressure on Kikuchi to work deeper than he typically can. From a betting perspective, the trends are clear. Baltimore is 7-3 in their last 10 home games and is 6-2 in Grayson Rodriguez's last 8 starts at Camden Yards. The Orioles are also 9-3 in their last 12 against left-handed starters. Toronto is just 2-6 in Kikuchi's last 8 starts on the road, and the Jays are 3-9 in their last 12 games against teams above .500. The Orioles have also covered the run line plus 1.5 in 19 of their last 24 home wins, showing that even in close games, they hang tough and often close late. This game's park factor also favors the offense. Camden Yards, while restructured with deeper left field dimensions, still plays fair for power, especially to right center. With warm midsummer weather and wind blowing slightly out to left field, power bats from both sides, particularly right-handed hitters, should see a boost. Add in the fact that both teams are ranked in the top 10 in barrel rate over the last 30 days, and you've got an environment where mistakes by pitchers won't go unpunished. Now, let's talk props and angles. Best bet: Orioles moneyline minus 135. Grayson Rodriguez at home against a Toronto lineup that struggles to capitalize in scoring situations is too good to pass up. This price is a gift if you believe in Rodriguez's home splits. Strikeout prop: Grayson Rodriguez over 5.5 kiloseconds. Toronto strikes out at a 23.7% clip against right-handed pitching and struggles against Rodriguez's pitch mix. He's gone over this line in 4 of his last 5 starts. Home run prop: Gunnar Henderson to hit a home run. He's been feasting on left-handed pitching, and Kikuchi has allowed 15 homers on the year, with 12 coming from right-handed bats. At plus 425 or better, there's big value here. Total bases pick: Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Over 1.5 total bases. Guerrero sees Grayson well, 4.48 in his career, and matches up favorably with his fastball-heavy approach. Bonus bet: over 8.5 total runs. With both lineups capable of slugging and questionable bullpen stretches, there's real potential for a 6-4 type of score. The weather adds a slight boost too. Run line angle: Orioles minus 1.5 plus 145. For aggressive bettors, this offers great value, especially if Rodriguez holds the Jays in check early and the O's bullpen slams the door. SGP parlay: Orioles ML plus Gunnar Henderson hour plus Rodriguez over 5.5 kiloseconds equals plus 850 to plus 1100 depending on book. All legs correlate with an Orioles win in a moderately high-scoring game. Final score prediction: Orioles 6, Blue Jays 4. Expect Baltimore to assert their dominance at home once again, with Rodriguez outdueling Kikuchi and the Orioles pen sealing it late. Game 2: Twins vs. Red Sox. This game between the Minnesota Twins and Boston Red Sox at Fenway Park comes at a pivotal time for both clubs trying to stay relevant in their playoff chases. The Red Sox are clawing for traction in a competitive AL East where the Orioles, Yankees, and Blue Jays have all had streaks of dominance. Meanwhile, the Twins are trying to hold off the Guardians in the AL Central, and every game matters in a division that often comes down to the final week. This series is as much about identity as it is about standing. Boston's reliance on offensive firepower will be tested by Minnesota's deeper rotation and more consistent bullpen. And this specific game, with Joe Ryan taking the hill for the Twins and Brian Bello lined up for Boston, promises to test both teams' pitching depth and plate discipline. Joe Ryan has been one of the more undervalued arms in the American League this season. His splitter and elevated fastball combination continues to stymie right-handed batters, and his walk rate is among the league's best. Ryan enters this start with a 3.22 ERA, a 0.98 WHIP, and an elite 27.4% strikeout rate, backed by a hard hit percentage under 35%. His ability to sequence up in the zone with four-seamers and then drop the splitter for chase swings has made him dominant against teams like Boston that lean right-heavy in their lineups. What also works in his favor is Fenway Park's expansive right-center gap, where his fly ball tendencies won't be punished as much. However, he'll need to keep an eye on Jarren Duran and Rafael Devers, both of whom can turn on elevated pitches and punish mistakes to left field. If Ryan is locating his four-seamer and stealing strikes early with his slider, this could be another dominant outing. His advanced stats also support his success, with a 2.980 and a 17.2% swinging strike rate that shows how deceptive his arsenal has been. Brayan Bello, on the other hand, is still navigating the peaks and valleys of his development. His two-seamer has excellent arm side run and velocity, and when he's locating it low, it becomes almost unhittable. The issue, however, has been his command, especially with secondary pitches. Bello owns a 4.21 ERA and 1.32 WHIP, and he's allowing a .277 average against left-handed batters. With Minnesota likely to load up on lefties like Max Kepler, Edouard Julien, and Matt Wallner, he'll be forced to work outside of his comfort zone. His changeup is his best off-speed weapon, but hitters are now laying off it more frequently, forcing him into more predictable counts. The Twins rank third in MLB in walk rate versus right-handed pitchers over the past 30 days, which is another red flag for Bello. If he's not getting first-pitch strikes or inducing soft contact with his sinker, Minnesota could chase him by the fourth or fifth inning. Offensively, the Red Sox remain an enigma. They rank top 10 in runs per game and team ops but are one of the most streaky lineups in baseball. Rafael Devers has caught fire again post-All-Star break, slashing .313 with 6 home runs in his last 14 games. Tristan Cassaw's return gives this lineup added thump, and Jarren Duran is a serious threat on the bases. The challenge is their inability to consistently hit quality breaking stuff. The Red Sox struggle against pitchers who work up in the zone, exactly what Joe Ryan does best. While they can pounce on mistake pitches, they don't manufacture runs particularly well. If Devers is neutralized, this lineup lacks that secondary power surge. Minnesota has been a tale of quiet consistency. Carlos Correa has been healthier in July and is starting to drive the ball again, while Royce Lewis has provided an injection of bat speed and timely hitting. Willie Castro remains a sneaky weapon for the Twins due to his versatility and ability to stretch singles into doubles. The key to their offense is situational hitting. While they don't often blow teams out, they capitalize when they get runners in scoring position. They rank 7th in MLB in average with RISP. And they'll be facing a Red Sox bullpen that's overused and has blown 5 saves in the last 10 days. That means even if they trail early, Minnesota is never out of a game like this. Defensively, the Twins are top 5 in team fielding percentage and defensive runs saved, while the Red Sox have been more middle of the pack. In close games, those margins matter. Minnesota also has one of the more underrated backstops in Ryan Jeffers, who calls an elite game and is above average in pitch framing. Bello's battery mate, Connor Wong, is solid but can be vulnerable to the run, a factor if Julien or Castro get on base. The weather forecast calls for warm, slightly humid conditions in Boston with wind blowing out slightly to left center. That gives a tiny edge to pull hitters and could make fly balls carry more than usual. Still, Ryan's ability to pitch up in the zone could offset the advantage, while Bello may find himself in trouble if his sinker flattens. The umpire assignment favors pitchers with strong command, another small boost for Ryan. Minnesota has covered the run line in 7 of Joe Ryan's last 10 starts, and they've gone under the total in 6 of those 10. Boston has hit the over in 8 of their last 12, largely because of bullpen collapses and late-game rallies. The line opened with the Red Sox as slight -120 favorites, but sharp money has trickled in on Minnesota overnight. The total is set at 8.5, and early action is leaning under. This game sets up perfectly for the Twins to play a crisp, low-scoring road win behind Ryan's dominance and some timely doubles from Julian or Kepler. Boston's only path is to get to Ryan early and make it a bullpen duel, something they've done successfully before. But with their bullpen taxed and Bellows' inconsistency, Minnesota has all the right matchup advantages. Final score prediction: Twins 5, Red Sox 3. Best bet: Twins ML. Total bases prop: Max Kepler over 1.5. Strikeout prop: Joe Ryan over 6.5 kiloseconds. Home run prop: Royce Lewis to hit a home run. Bonus run line value: Twins minus 1.5 plus 160 odds. SGP parlay angle: Twins ML plus Joe Ryan 6 plus Ks plus Max Kepler 2 plus TBs tilde plus 525 payout. Game 3 Tigers vs Diamondbacks. It's showdown time in the desert as the Detroit Tigers head west to face the Arizona Diamondbacks in a game where sneaky value meets untapped power. The Tigers come in with a 49-58 record, and while they've been stuck in the AL Central basement most of the season, they've quietly been building something around a few foundational arms. Meanwhile, Arizona, hovering just under .500 at 54-52, is clawing for a wild-card slot and knows every game counts in the crowded NL West race. The pitching matchup features Detroit's Casey Mize, 3-8, 4.97 ERA, squaring off against Arizona's Brandon Pfaadt, 6-7, 4.32 ERA, two righties who have flashed upside but remain inconsistent. But inconsistency is where bettors find value, and this game is dripping with angles to exploit. Let's start with the Tigers. Offensively, Detroit ranks bottom 5 in nearly every major category: 28th in ops .663, 26th in batting average .229, and 27th in runs per game 3.96. But lately, they've found a mini spark. Spencer Torkelson is starting to find barrels again, with a .263 AVG and .505 SLG over his last 10 games, while Riley Green continues to be the most complete hitter in the lineup, batting .282 with 11 hour and 8.348 OBP. Matt Vierling's righty splits also make him a dark horse value prop here, hitting .287 versus RHPs and drawing attention in the total base markets at over 1.5 terabytes plus 125. On the mound, Mize has been underwhelming but has shown flashes. In his last 3 road starts, he owns a respectable 3.93 ERA and has improved his whip to 1.22. However, his lack of swing and miss stuff is a problem, striking out just 6.1 batters per 9 innings, with a strikeout prop line likely set around 3.5 at slight plus money plus 110. Fading that against a contact-heavy Arizona lineup might be wise. Arizona, on the other hand, ranks 12th in runs per game, 4.58, 13th in team ops .723, and they've crushed right-handed pitching, with a team slash of .259, .329, .419 versus RHP. Christian Walker is heating up at the right time, slugging .508 with 7 home runs in July, and he's the guy you want to target in home run props at plus 340. Kettle Mart has been scorching in July with a .308 average and .397 OBP, making him the best total base play in the game, especially against a pitch-to-contact starter like Mize. Corbin Carroll still hasn't fully broken out this year after a shoulder scare, but his speed on the bases and occasional pop make him an intriguing same-game parlay target at 1+ hit, 1+ run, and over 0.5 stolen bases plus 500 combo. Pfaadt has been Arizona's high-variance wild card. He's posted 3 straight quality starts, all going 6+ innings, and has struck out 18 batters across those 18 innings. The Tigers strike out at the 7th highest rate in the league, 9.14 kgm, which makes Pfaadt's K prop of 5.5 priced at -120, one of the top plays on the board. Detroit's .220 average against sliders and .197 against changeups are precisely the types of pitches Fott throws over 50% of the time. Let's talk bullpen. Detroit's pen has been surprisingly decent, ranking 10th in bullpen era, 3.67, but they lack overpowering arms and often blow games late. 17 blown saves this season and a 1.35 whip after the 7th inning. Arizona's bullpen hasn't been much better, ranked 19th in era, 4.22, and 28th in save percentage. This screams over if the game is close late, especially with the Arizona Heat pushing the ball further than usual in a dome with the roof open. Now for betting angles. The total opened at 8.5 runs, with early sharp money pushing the over slightly juiced to -115. Given both starters' eras and middling pens, plus the Tigers' tendency to either explode or fall flat, we like the over here, especially as both teams have been involved in higher-scoring games lately. Tigers' overs have hit in 7 of last 10. On the sides, Arizona is the right lean. Their bats match up well against Mize, and they've won 5 of their last 7 home games against sub-.500 teams. The money line is sitting around RE -145, and that's justified. For value, we love a same-game parlay with Arizona ML plus Fott over 5.5 kiloseconds plus Walker to HR at +725. High risk, but high return. Team total props also hold value. Arizona over 4.5 runs at +105 is a solid spot, and if you want safer ground, team total over 3.5 at -135 is playable. Home run props to consider. Christian Walker +340, Spencer Torkelson +425, and Riley Green +470. Walker leads Arizona in barrels per PA and has elite exit velocity metrics versus fastballs, exactly what Mize offers. Torkelson's HR prop is pure value. He's due, and Fott's tendency to give up loud contact to righties makes him a solid dark horse. Total base props. Mart over 1.5 terabytes -105, Green over 1.5 terabytes +115, and Vierling 2 plus hits +240. Don't sleep on stolen base props either. Carroll at +400 and Badu at +500 are sneaky plays in aggressive late-game base-running matchups. Final prediction. This game should start off tight but open up late as both bullpens get tested. Arizona's firepower and Fott's improving command make them the stronger side overall. Expect Mart and Walker to carry the load offensively, with Fott racking up 6+ Ks before handing it over to a shaky but sufficient pen. Tigers might hang around with a big hit from Green or Torkelson, but ultimately, Arizona has too much lineup depth and situational hitting prowess. Final score prediction. Diamondbacks 6, Tigers 4. Best bets. Diamondbacks ML, over 8.5 total runs, Fott over 5.5 kiloseconds, Mart over 1.5 total bases, Christian Walker to homer. Game 4 Astros vs Nationals. If you're looking at this Astros vs Nationals clash and thinking of skipping it, because it's an interleague game between a postseason hopeful and a bottom-tier club, think again. This isn't just another spot on the calendar. It's a serious betting opportunity hiding beneath the surface of an otherwise overlooked Monday. The Astros have been walking a fine line lately, hovering in that .500 range with flashes of their old dominant selves, but also plenty of gaps that make you wonder whether this team is going to rise or collapse down the stretch. And when they hit the road, Houston becomes a wildly unpredictable team, especially against non-divisional opponents. Now throw them into Nationals Park, where Washington, despite their record, has been an underrated pain for visiting squads. The Nats have played over .500 baseball at home across their last 20 games and continue to cash as dogs in weird matchups. But let's talk arms, because that's where this handicap starts. For Houston, Spencer Arrighetti will likely get the ball. He's got decent strikeout upside but has struggled with control, especially in high-leverage innings. His ERA is hovering near 6.00, and his whip north of 1.60 means runners are always finding their way on. When you match that with a bullpen that's overworked and leaking runs late, especially the middle relief core, it creates openings for a team like Washington that thrives on chaos. On the other side, Mitchell Parker has been a revelation for the Nats. He's sitting with a sub-4 ERA through July, and while he's not going to overpower lineups, his walk rate is elite and his changeup has been getting swings and misses at a 30% clip. That's important against a Houston team that ranks bottom 10 in batting average versus changeups over the past 30 days. The real X factor is how the Astros handle left-handed pitching. On the surface, they've been solid, especially Altuve, Tucker, and Bregman, but they've also been prone to long scoring droughts in recent series. Houston's team total is hovering around 4.5 in this spot, and that feels like a sharp underplay. In fact, in the last 10 games versus lefties, the Astros have only eclipsed 4 runs 4 times, and 2 of those came against bullpens, not starters. Player prop angles are spicy here. Kyle Tucker is a candidate to go yard. He's slugging over .650 vs lefties since the break and is due for a breakout. On the Nats side, C.J. Abrams is the guy to target. He's been hitting .310 in July with 5 steals and looks like a multi-base threat every night. I'd lean over 1.5 total bases for Abrams and would sprinkle on a stolen base at plus money if books are hanging it. Lane Thomas has also been heating up, hitting over .300 the past week, and could be a sneaky DFS or prop play for runs scored. Betting-wise, this game is screaming trap line. Astros open as moderate road favorites -145 to -160, but with how shaky they've been away from Minute Maid and how quietly scrappy Washington has become, the value is on the dog. Nats plus 140 is a very playable number, especially if Arrighetti gives up traffic early. The better play, though, might be the underdog run line. Nationals plus 1.5 is coming in near -120, and if you're not trusting their bullpen to hold a 1-run lead late, it still covers a close 4-3 or 5-4 loss. Total is set at 9, and there's slight lean to the under. Weather looks good, wind's neutral, and both starters are capable of 5 solid innings. If you're playing the full game under, I'd rather pair it with a Nationals cover and build a correlated parlay than go solo on the total. But a first 5 under 4.5 looks real sharp. Parker's been nails early, and the Astros tend to take a few innings to time up unfamiliar lefties. Parlays. You want juice? Try this on for size. C.J. Abrams 2+ hits, Kyle Tucker to homer, and Nationals plus 1.5. That's the kind of 3-leg ladder that'll pay 10x and is built off real matchup data. Not a flyer. A sharp, numbers-based risk. Final score prediction. Nationals 5, Astros 4. That's right. The Nats steal one at home, capitalize on bullpen fatigue, and get just enough offense from their top 3 hitters. Fade the public, trust the trends, and don't let the jersey names trick you. This is a live dog spot. Game 5 Royals vs Braves. We've got a high-octane interleague clash on deck as the Kansas City Royals roll into Truist Park to take on the powerhouse Atlanta Braves. And this isn't just another midweek matchup, this one's got layers. The Braves, still chasing consistency despite their star-studded lineup, find themselves staring down a Royals team that's surprised a lot of people this year by hovering around the .500 mark. But let's be honest, Kansas City is stepping into a buzzsaw tonight. Atlanta hasn't just been winning at home, they've been smashing. The question isn't just, who wins? It's, how bad does Atlanta light up the scoreboard, and is there any edge to be had in backing or fading them in the right markets? Let's dig into this one like we always do, beyond the box score. First off, let's talk about the pitching matchup. The Royals are sending out Alec Marsh, and while he's shown flashes of effectiveness this year, he's been inconsistent. His ERA north of 4.50 and whip over 1.30 tells a tale of a young arm still trying to find his rhythm. Marsh's biggest problem is hard contact. Opponents slug well over .460 against him when he misses over the plate, and unfortunately, the Braves feast on pitchers who live in that zone. Against right-handed batters, he's more solid, but lefties are torching him, and that opens the door for Matt Olson and Ozzie Albies to do serious damage. The Braves counter with Spencer Schwellenbach, the rookie right-hander who's come into this season with plenty of buzz and some growing pains. Schwellenbach has held his own in spurts, showcasing elite movement and command at times, but he's still prone to getting burned by multi-run innings. His expected ERA and barrel rate suggest regression is looming, and this Royals team is just pesky enough to take advantage of mistakes. But let's be real, this isn't an offense built to drop crooked numbers consistently, especially on the road. Let's zoom out. Kansas City is 4-13 in their last 17 road games against winning teams. They struggle against high-velocity teams, and the Braves' pitching staff ranks in the top 5 in fastball velocity. What does that mean? Guys like Bobby Witt Jr. and MJ Melendez will have to adjust quickly, or they'll be late all night. Witt is the only consistent threat in this lineup, and if Atlanta pitches around him, or forces him to chase outside the zone, KC's offensive ceiling plummets. Now let's turn to the Braves lineup. We're talking about a team that leads MLB in slugging percentage at home and is averaging over 5.6 runs per game at Truist Park over the past month. Ronald Acuna Jr. might be sidelined, but this lineup is still loaded. Austin Riley has quietly heated up in July with a .310 average and 4 homers in his last 12 games. Olson remains a launch angle machine. And let's not forget Marcell Ozuna, who's smashing right-handed pitching and leads the team in RBIs since the All-Star break. And this is where we find value, not just on the money line, where the Braves are heavy favorites, but on team totals, player props, and potentially a first 5 innings angle. Best bets breakdown. Braves team total over 5.5 runs plus 100 or better. This is the premium angle. KC's bullpen is overworked, sporting a bottom 10 ERA in July. If Marsh doesn't make it through 5 innings clean, it gets ugly. Atlanta doesn't just score, they wear down pitching staffs. They've hit this number in 5 of their last 6 home games. Matt Olson to hit a home run plus 340. This is a green light. Olson has a .590 slugging percentage at home versus right-handers. Marsh has allowed 1.6 HR9 this season. The matchup is tailor-made for a long ball from Olson, especially if Marsh falls behind in counts. Bobby Witt Jr. over 1.5 total bases plus 110. Witt is the one Royals hitter with the speed and contact skills to manufacture offense. He's hit safely in 11 of his last 14 games and is red hot in July. If you want a KC angle, this is it. First 5 innings Braves minus 0.5 minus 135. You don't want to mess with potential backdoor bullpen nonsense. Lock in value early. Atlanta is averaging 3.4 runs in the first 5 innings at home in July. Marsh is shaky early in games, giving up a .295 average the first time through the order. Braves minus 1.5 run line minus 115. Yes, it's chalky, but Atlanta wins big when they win. 35 of their 55 wins have come by 2+ runs. If you're confident in Schwellenbach limiting damage and the bats staying hot, this is the value side. Let's also not overlook weather and game conditions. Forecasts call for humid, hitter-friendly air in Atlanta, with wind possibly blowing out slightly toward right center. That's huge for left-handed sluggers like Olson, Albies, and even Jarred Kelenic if he gets a start. All signs point to a game where the ball will carry, and given how much hard contact both teams allow, we could see fireworks. SGP legs to consider, same game parlay. Braves ML, Olson to HR, Witt Jr., Over 1.5 terabytes. Braves team total over 4.5. That combo pays out massive, and every leg has a sharp narrative behind it. Now let's touch on game flow. Expect the Royals to start aggressive. They don't want to get behind early and let the Braves crowd and momentum snowball. But if Marsh gets into trouble in the second or third inning, it could snowball quick. Kansas City doesn't have the bullpen depth to bridge 4 or 5 middle innings cleanly, and if they go to long relief early, Atlanta could be in double-digit runs before we reach the 8th inning. Final thoughts. This is a game where sharp bettors should avoid the obvious and dig into prop value. The books are shading totals slightly because of Schwellenbach's upside and Marsh's occasional strong outings, but the Braves' offensive firepower, at home, against a contact-heavy pitcher, is the real difference. Final score prediction. Braves 8, Royals 3. Keep riding hot bats. Fade road-weary rotations. And when in doubt, always break it down beyond the box score. Game 6 White Sox vs. Phillies. The sun rises on a Monday showdown that might not scream playoff implications, but make no mistake, there's major betting value in this White Sox vs. Phillies clash on July 30th. On the surface, this matchup might look like a David vs. Goliath affair, but these are the exact types of games where savvy bettors find gold. The Phillies are a powerhouse, plain and simple. Entering the series, they sit at 63-41, dominating the NL East with a relentless combination of deep pitching and timely power. On the flip side, the White Sox, languishing at the bottom of the AL Central with a 31-72 record, have been a punching bag for most of the league. But in the betting world, value isn't about records, it's about the numbers, matchups, and momentum in the moment. Let's start with the Phillies. They'll hand the ball to Christopher Sanchez, who has quietly been one of the sharpest lefties in baseball this year. Sanchez owns a sparkling 2.61 ERA and an impressive 1.06 WHIP through 103.1 innings, striking out 98 batters while walking just 18. His command is elite, and his changeup has become a legit weapon. Sanchez has allowed just 2 earned runs in his last 3 starts combined, holding opponents to a .191 average in that span. At home, he's been even better, boasting a 2.22 ERA and a sub-1 WHIP at Citizens Bank Park. He's also been outstanding against weaker offenses. Teams with a sub-.300 OBP have hit just .215 off him. On the other side, the White Sox will likely go with Chris Flexen, and that's where things get dicey for Chicago. Flexen has a 5.13 ERA, 1.43 WHIP, and a FIP north of 5.00, numbers that scream volatility. His K9 sits under 7, and he's allowing a .276 batting average to opposing hitters. Lefties have especially lit him up, slugging .482 with 9 home runs in just 38 innings. That's a red flag when facing a Phillies lineup stacked with left-handed power bats like Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, and Bryson Stott. And let's talk offense. The Phillies rank top 10 in MLB in slugging .427, home runs 137, and ops .753. Bryce Harper is slashing .294, .391, .518 with 21 home runs and 61 RBIs, looking like an MVP contender again. Schwarber, despite the low batting average, continues to mash with 27 homers, 65 RBIs, and a .502 slugging percentage. And let's not overlook Alec Boehm, who's hitting .292 with runners in scoring position and leads the team in RBIs with 76. The White Sox, meanwhile, are dead last in runs scored, 370, team OBP, .284, and ranked 28th in batting average, .222. They're also dead last in total bases. This is a lineup that has struggled to generate anything outside of a few isolated power spurts from Luis Robert Jr. and Paul DeJong. The splits also matter here. Against lefties, The White Sox have a miserable .210 average and a .637 ops. That's a nightmare matchup against a control artist like Sanchez. The Phillies, meanwhile, thrive against right-handed pitching, hitting .257 with a .763 ops, and have hit 108 of their 137 homers off righties. Chris Flexen hasn't been able to put hitters away, and the Phillies should be ready to tee off early. From a betting perspective, this game opens with the Phillies as -260 moneyline favorites and the run line sitting at -1.5 plus 105. It's a steep price on the money line, but the run line offers plus money against one of the worst teams in baseball. The total is hovering around 8.5 runs, and the over is worth a look, not because the White Sox are expected to mash, but because Philadelphia could put up 6 to 7 runs themselves. Here's how the props break down. Bryce Harper to hit a home run is plus 390, great value considering he's hit safely in 8 of his last 10 games and has a .568 slugging percentage against righties. Kyle Schwarber to go deep is plus 350, and he's homered in 4 of his last 7 games at home. Christopher Sanchez strikeout prop is set at 5.5, and considering the White Sox strike out 9.2 times per game, 6th most in MLB, that over is tempting. Another solid angle, Phillies team total over 5.5 runs at plus 115. The White Sox bullpen ranks 27th in ERA, 5.01, and Flexen rarely pitches deep, so there's a chance for runs late. Even deeper, Bryson Stott is plus 135 to record 2+ hits, and he's hitting .301 at home this season. Trey Turner is plus 145 for a stolen base, and with Flexen's slow delivery and Yasmani Grandal's weak caught stealing rate, just 19%, Turner has a green light. The Phillies are also a great SGP, same game parlay, target. Harper 1+ hit, Phillies -1.5, Sanchez 5+ strikeouts pays out around plus 400 on most books. Prediction time. The Phillies win this game handily. The White Sox are simply outmatched on the mound, in the lineup, and even in the bullpen. Expect early offense from the Phillies, especially in the first 3 innings where they rank 4th in MLB in first inning scoring. Final score: Phillies 7, White Sox 2. Look for Harper and Schwarber to go deep, Sanchez to rack up strikeouts, and the Phillies to cover the run line with ease. That's how you spot sharp value in a game that looks lopsided, because the books know casual bettors will avoid heavy favorites. But smart props and team total plays bring you the edge. Game 7 Brewers vs Cubs. The battle for the NL Central is heating up, and July 30th brings us a must-watch clash between the Milwaukee Brewers and the Chicago Cubs at Wrigley Field. Both teams are neck and neck in the standings, and this game has playoff implications written all over it. The Brewers will roll out right-hander Freddie Peralta, while the Cubs counter with the gritty lefty Jordan Wicks. These two pitchers bring very different energy to the mound, and bettors should be paying close attention to the splits, props, and performance trends that define this matchup. Peralta enters this game with a 3.62 ERA and a 1.08 WHIP across 21 starts, holding opponents to a .213 batting average and recording 144 strikeouts over 119.1 innings. He's been particularly nasty on the road this year, posting a 2.98 ERA away from home and a 12.4 K/9 rate. The Cubs lineup is built with more success against right-handed pitching, but their recent strikeout issues have shown up again. Chicago ranks bottom 7 in the league in K rate over the last 15 games, sitting at 25.3%. This sets the table for Freddie Peralta's strikeout prop, which opened at 7.5 and has heavy juice on the over. Given that he's hit 8+ Ks in 8 of his last 10 starts, the over is worth a strong look. On the other side, Jordan Wicks has had an up-and-down 2025 campaign. He enters with a 4.78 ERA and 1.43 WHIP, and while he's been slightly better at Wrigley with a 4.09 home ERA, he still struggles to put away hitters. Right-handed batters are slugging .467 against him this season, and Milwaukee's lineup features plenty of righty power bats that could give Wicks trouble. William Contreras and Willie Adames have both slugged over .500 against lefties this season, and Rhys Hoskins, though inconsistent, is always a threat in lefty-on-righty matchups. The Brewers as a team slugged .424 vs lefties this season and average 1.36 hour per game in those splits. Wicks' hour 9 is sitting at 1.42, and with wind blowing slightly out at Wrigley, the long ball could once again haunt the Cubs. A total base prop on Contreras over 1.5 TBs at plus money and a home run prop on Adames priced near plus 425 look like value options in a game that should tilt toward Brewers offense late. Digging into bullpen metrics, Milwaukee has a clear edge in the late innings. Their bullpen ranks 5th in MLB in ERA, 3.45, and is particularly stingy on the road. They've also locked down 21 of 25 save opportunities in away games, with closer Trevor Megill quietly converting 12 straight save chances. The Cubs' bullpen, meanwhile, has blown leads in 6 of their last 14 games and ranks 25th in bullpen ERA since July 1. This late-inning volatility for Chicago makes the Brewers' second-half moneyline, currently hovering around minus 115. An excellent play for those who don't want to sweat the full game. One of the most notable trends entering this game is how hot Milwaukee has been against division opponents. The Brewers are 21-11 versus the NL Central this season, including a 9-4 record on the road in those games. Meanwhile, the Cubs are just 15-19 in divisional play and have dropped 6 of their last 8 games versus teams above .500. Add in the fact that the Brewers have won 7 of their last 9 games overall, and you start to see a team that's surging at the right time. Run line bettors should note that 6 of the Brewers' last 8 wins have come by multiple runs, and with the Cubs' offense in a bit of a slump, averaging just 3.4 runs over their last 10 games, the value on Brewers minus 1.5 at around plus 145 is enticing. On the total side, odds makers opened this game at 8.5, which has since ticked down to 8 in some markets. That movement likely reflects respect for Peralta, but with the Brewers' power versus lefties, some wind, and a vulnerable Cubs pen, this still leans toward a 5-3 or 6-4 type of result, suggesting that the over remains in play. Let's talk about strikeout props one more time, because this game screams K opportunities. Freddie Peralta's over 7.5 kiloseconds is priced around minus 125, and he's cleared that number in 4 of his last 5 starts against teams in the bottom half of strikeout rate. The Cubs rank 24th in that category and have multiple hitters: Happ, Morel, Suzuki, who whiff over 27% of the time against high-velocity righties. For those hunting SGP, same-game parlay value, combining Peralta 8+ Ks, Brewers ML, and Contreras 1+ hit brings solid plus 350 territory. You could get more aggressive and sprinkle in Adames 1+ HR or total bases to push that into plus 800 range for lottery-style parlays. If you're looking for early live betting indicators, keep an eye on Peralta's fastball velocity and swing and miss rate in the first inning. If he's hitting 95-96 and generating chases up in the zone, it's going to be a long day for the Cubs. Conversely, if the Brewers struggle to plate runs in the first 5, you may want to pivot to the live under depending on bullpen usage projections. Final score prediction: Brewers 6, Cubs 3. Peralta strikes out 9, the bullpen locks it down, and the Brewers inch one step closer to tightening their grip on the division. Contreras goes 2 for 4 with a double and a run scored, and Adames leaves the yard for his 19th homer of the season. All told, this is a game where pitching, power, and playoff urgency intersect, and that's a recipe for value on the road favorite. Game 8: Giants vs Pirates. The San Francisco Giants and the Pittsburgh Pirates square off in a classic National League matchup at PNC Park on July 30th, and it's a game with far more weight than most people realize. While both teams sit in the middle of the NL standings, this is a series that could influence trade deadline moves and playoff aspirations, particularly for a Pirates team that's been flirting with .500 all season and a Giants squad trying to keep their wild card hopes alive. And when we dig into the numbers, the pitching matchup, and the betting board, there's some real value to uncover in this one. The Giants are expected to send Kyle Harrison, LHP, to the mound. Harrison enters this game with a 7-6 record, a 4.02 ERA, and a 1.27 WHIP through 106 innings pitched. He's been a mixed bag. Dominant against left-handed batters, .216 BAA, but vulnerable against righties, .271 BAA, 13-hour allowed. His last 3 starts have produced a 3.81 ERA and a 1.17 WHIP, which suggests a positive trend. But pitching on the road has been tricky. His ERA away from Oracle Park sits at 4.78, and he's allowed 9 of his 13 homers on the road. On the other side, the Pirates trot out Jared Jones, RHP, the rookie sensation who's been one of the biggest bright spots for Pittsburgh in 2025. With a 5-7 record, a 3.62 ERA, and an impressive 1.08 WHIP across 109 innings, Jones has shown maturity and poise beyond his years. He owns a strikeout rate of 10.1 K9, and in his last 4 starts, he's punched out 30 batters while walking just 4. He's also been rock solid at PNC Park, 2.93 ERA at home versus 4.48 on the road. And this is a Giants offense that strikes out 24.8% of the time against right-handers, 8th worst in MLB. Offensively, the Giants rank 17th in MLB in ops .710, and 21st in runs scored, but they've been better lately with .756 ops over the past 14 days. Jorge Soler is starting to heat up, hitting .308 with 3 hours in his last 10 games, while Wilmer Flores is slugging .525 against right-handers this month. However, San Francisco still struggles in clutch spots, ranked 27th in batting average with RISP .223, which has cost them several close games. The Pirates are slightly worse offensively overall, sitting 25th in ops .682, and 23rd in total runs, but they've been opportunistic, particularly at home, where they average 4.6 runs per game. Bryan Reynolds continues to be their heartbeat, posting 8.284 AVG with 19 hours and a team-leading 59 RBIs. O'Neal Cruz, meanwhile, remains a boom-or-bust force. His 14 hours and 11 stolen bases are valuable, but his 32% K rate makes him a liability in key moments. Now let's talk betting. The opening line has the Pirates as narrow home favorites at -115, with the total hovering at 8.5 runs. Public money leans slightly toward the Pirates early on, but sharp bettors have been hitting the under. Why? Because both teams have been trending under in recent weeks. The Giants are 8-2 to the under in their last 10, and the Pirates have stayed under in 6 of their last 8 home games. Combine that with 2 starting pitchers with sub-4 ERAs and 2 offenses that rank in the bottom third of MLB, and it's not hard to see why the total is dropping in some books. Here are a few betting angles to watch. Best bets. First 5 innings under 4.5 runs. Both starters are capable of limiting damage early, and these offenses don't explode out of the gate. Pirates moneyline -115, the home edge. The better bullpen, 3.71 ERA versus 4.39 for SF, and Jones' recent form make the Bucks a slight value play. Total under 8.5 runs, with weather conditions showing mild wind blowing in from right field and no real sluggers swinging hot bats. This game has 4-3 or 3-2 vibes. Home run prop picks. Bryan Reynolds +470, he's 5 for 11 with a homer off lefties over the past 2 weeks and has launched 9 of his 19 hours at home. Jorge Soler +500, he's starting to get his power stroke back and has a .550 SLG versus fastballs in July. Total bases picks. Reynolds over 1.5 total bases plus 120 hits lefties well, and Harrison tends to give up solid contact to righties. Soler over 1.5 total bases plus 125 power bat heating up, facing a pitcher who challenges with fastballs. Strikeout props. Jared Jones over 6.5 kiloseconds minus 110, Giants strike out often, and Jones has 7+ strikeouts in 3 of his last 4. Kyle Harrison over 4.5 kiloseconds minus 130, even in road starts. Harrison typically reaches this number, especially against bottom-tier lineups. SGP parlay legs, FanDuel style. Pirates ML. Brian Reynolds 2+ TB. Jared Jones 6+ Ks. Under 9.5 runs. Payout +750. Final score prediction. I've got Pirates 4, Giants 3. The home team edges this one behind a strong outing from Jared Jones, a clutch RBI double from Reynolds, and a steady bullpen effort. San Francisco threatens late, but the Pirates' pen, anchored by David Bednar, locks it down. This is a sneaky good game for betting value if you know where to look. The Giants are scrappy, but the Pirates are simply more balanced at home, and in a toss-up matchup, we ride with the better home splits and the surging rookie arm. That's part 1 wrapped. 8 in-depth showdowns locked and loaded with stats, predictions, and betting edges. But we're not done. Part 2 is already uploaded, covering the rest of the July 30th action including some late-night bangers and sneaky undercard matchups. So if you want to stay one step ahead of the market, like this video and make sure you're subscribed to Beyond the Box Score. This is your edge. Don't miss it.